Adam and Hawa alayhum salam are in paradise. They're enjoying everything it has to offer. Now imagine with me how paradise looks. It's very important that you always imagine how it looks so that we're always connected to it, so that we're always thirsty for it, longing for it. Imagine how much there is. And imagine all the trees and how many trees there were. I can imagine like trillions upon trillions of trees of all different kinds and all different types, all different fruits and all different colors. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Adam and Hawa and says, look, right? Ya Adam, uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah wa kula min haythu shi'tuma. Adam, Hawa, go find peace in paradise. Go find peace in paradise. And eat from whatever you want, enjoy whatever you want, but وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. See that tree right there? Imagine with me. Imagine like you're watching this episode happen here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Adam, Hawa, eat from anything but that tree right there, stay away from it. And if you eat from it, you'll be among the dhalimin, among the wrongdoers. Now, the verses, the Quran doesn't explain why. It doesn't tell us anything interesting or unique about the tree. It gives us no details, no clues as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would restrict them from it. And no, we don't know what kind of fruit it produced. We commonly hear apple. That's from, the people of the book scripture. It's not from our scripture. We don't know. And that's exactly the point. Because it's just another tree. In fact, it's very possible that that tree had similar trees all around, meaning it's one of many. But don't stay away from that. Okay, well, got it. They accept that. Now, if you're a parent and you are concerned for your child, there's something dangerous for your child, wouldn't you kind of protect the child from ever being able to go there? Wouldn't you put a guardrail around it? Wouldn't you keep it out of the reach of the child? Yeah, that's common sense. So I really wonder, why didn't Allah just put like a fence around the tree? Why didn't He put angels there so that it's out of reach completely, that they're never able to go? And remember, Iblis is, he's going after them. So, there are reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should really put a fence around the tree. But He doesn't. And they stay away from it. And Iblis starts going to Adam and Hawa. And he starts poking their buttons. Hey Adam, hey Hawa, why don't you eat from the tree? Go eat from the tree. What's holding you back? Why not? Now the Quran is very summarized, right? It's not giving us all the details, but I really imagine, was this whole episode of not eating from the tree just a moment's time, or did a long period of time pass before Adam and Hawa eventually ate from the tree? It's very likely that Iblis would go to them and try and entice them to go, and they're reluctant. No, we're not going to listen to you. No, Allah told us not to listen to you. So Iblis kept trying to entice them until he found the right words to tell them that captured their interest. He found their vulnerability. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ لِيُبْدِيَ لَهُمَا مَا وُورِيَ عَنْهُمَا مِنْ سَوْآتِهِمَا وَقَالَ, here we go, وَقَالَ مَا نَهَاكُمَا رَبُّكُمَا عَنْ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ إِلَّا أَن تَكُونَ مَلَكَيْنِ أَوْ تَكُونَ مِنَ الْخَالِدِينَ. He says the following worked. Pay attention, because all of this is going on to teach us. He says, hey Hawa, hey Adam, why did Allah prohibit you from this tree? Except because He doesn't want you to become angels, or He doesn't want you to live eternally. Oh, He got them. So they ate from it because of what He said. Let's unpack this. Number one, the way he posed, right? The way he posed the information is, why did Allah tell you not to do it? This is such a human thing. Notice, dear brothers and sisters, How many times have you asked the question, why is this halal? How many times have you asked the question, why is this an obligation? In comparison to how many times you ask the question, why is this haram? Isn't that what we always hear? Is that what we're always asking? Baba, why is this haram? Mama, why is this haram? Sheikh, why is this haram? You see that right there? What's the deal? Why are we so focused on the why of the haram? And even when we say, why is this an obligation? We're essentially saying, why do I need to do this? Why is Allah telling me to do this? And the answer, wallahi, it's so human. I'm going to give you an analogy. Imagine walking around an office and all the doors are wide open except one door, it's closed and it says, do not enter. And all the curtains are brought down. You have 100 rooms that are open, but one that says, do not enter. Which one are you going to be curious about? We're all going to say the same exact answer. I really wonder what's going on behind there. The human being is curious. And the human being doesn't like to be restricted. Do you like to be restricted? Remember when your mom and your dad used to say, you can't watch this show? Remember when they said, you can't do this? That's the worst thing because it restricts us. The human being does not like to feel restricted. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, don't eat from there, Iblis finally found the formula that will draw their curiosity. Why is this haram? In other words, why is Allah restricting you? We don't like to feel restricted. What is there? We like to be curious. They say curiosity killed the cat, right? So he understood how to frame the question. And so we Muslims, we have to be very aware of this. It is perfectly fine to research why something is haram. And there is a rational, logical explanation to every single haram. But there's a difference between trying to learn so that you can better submit to Allah versus asking the question because you are reluctant to submit until it fits what you think is correct. You see the difference? And so part of Iman is to understand this human aspect of our experience. You don't like to be restricted, you're curious. And to tame it by telling yourself, I don't need to be convinced, I don't need to know exactly why something is haram for me to actually do it. What I do know and what I do submit to is the fact that the one who told me is Allah, and that's enough. See, Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, their iman still hadn't evolved or developed to that level. And so they're going through this moment so that it starts to develop. And so he knew how to do the formula. That's number one. Number two, Allah doesn't want you to become angels. What does it mean to become angels? You know, if I were to say so-and-so has become an angel, we would see that as an upgrade, right? You become an angel. You went from human to angel. That's an upgrade, at least in our minds. We human beings, we are always trying to go to the next best thing. You have a Toyota, you're thinking about a BMW. You have a BMW, you're thinking of a Porsche. You have a Porsche, you're thinking of a Bentley. You have a Bentley, you're thinking of a whatever, an Aston Martin, a Bugatti, etc. You have a 1,500 square home, you're thinking about a 2,500 square home. You got a 2,500 square home, you're thinking about the next thing. You have a company that's worth $1 million, you're thinking, how do I get to 10 million? How do I get to 100 million? We're always trying to go to the next best thing. It's part of the human experience. So Iblis found that. He found that vulnerability and he said, oh, they want to become better. Maybe you will become angels if you eat from it. Even though kind of like the rationale is very silly. Who would believe that eating from a tree would cause me to become an angel? But we human beings like, okay, well, I might as well test it. I'll risk that. No problem. So as human beings, we need to be very careful with our pursuit of the better. And we need to embrace the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says, if the child of Adam had a valley full of gold, they would want two more. Not one more, they would want another two. And the only thing that will satisfy, that will shut the appetite of the human being is when dirt gets in their body, meaning when they die and they're buried. In other words, our desires are an endless abyss. No matter how much you satisfy your desires can never be fully satisfied. And so Islam comes to teach us how to tame our desires, how to be moderate in our gratification of our desires, not to indulge in our desires randomly and unrestrictedly. Hence, kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. Eat, drink, but don't go into the extremes of your consumption. That's how Iblis convinced Adam and Hawa to eat from the tree. And number 3, or you might live forever. If you eat from the tree, you're going to live forever. And this is another major weakness of the human being. No matter how long we live, we want to live longer. And so the Prophet ﷺ teaches us, Yashubbu ibnu Adam. The child of Adam, their hair will go gray, but they will remain young in 2 things. Hubbul mal, we will always love money. No matter how old we get, we will always continue to love money as though we are still in the beginning of our careers. And number 2, hubbul haya. We will always love life. If we are 90 years old, we want to live longer. And so you could probably find, you probably know of your grandparents or very elderly people who are in their 80s, their 90s, yet they're still trying to open businesses. They're still thinking about buying a new home. They're still thinking about trading stocks. That's so human. But again, it needs to be tamed. And so the Quran and the Sunnah always come and teach us and remind us there's an afterlife. The afterlife is better. What comes after this life is better. And part of the reward of doing good work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He puts love of the afterlife in your heart. And part of a blessing or a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to allow you to taste the bitterness of this world so you're no longer interested in it. This is how Adam alayhi salam and Hawa were deceived into eating from the tree. And all of this episode was for what? So that today we know what it means to be a human being. We are always curious about what is restricting us, and we don't want to be restricted. We always want more, and we always want to live longer. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakumullah khair for watching. Please share this khair and let other people benefit from the lessons, and support this masjid by becoming one of its sustainers.